Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, everyone, wherever you're joining from in the world, wherever you're joining across the world. I want to invite you today to join us for the Ask the Experts. We're going to be talking about driving innovation for the modern work with Surface Hub and Duo. Hopefully you all got an opportunity to just watch our digital on-demand session and digital live session that was at 2:30 Pacific time earlier. We have some great experts joining us today, but before we start diving in, I just want to share a few kind of housekeeping items in order to be able to move forward with the session and open it up to our expert. A couple of things about how to engage with our expert. Please make sure you're using the chat to ask questions. We'll be monitoring the chat both with a set of online SMEs who will be helping to actively respond in the chat window, as well as our speakers that are joining us. Questions will appear to all the attendees once they're approved by the moderator. We encourage you to use upfront voting. If there's a question that you're particularly interested in or you're also sharing, please go ahead and use the thumbs up button to let us know that that's a question or an area that a lot of people are interested in. Experts will answer questions verbally, over chat, or determined by the moderator. We're really going to try to work to make sure that we get through all of your questions in the 30 minutes that we have today. So we encourage you to make sure that you're asking anything and everything that's coming to mind. Experts will provide resources once the session concludes to learn more, so you have other places to go direct your questions if we don't get them covered today. That being said, there's a few things we just want to remind everyone. This session may be recorded. Please help our moderators out. Please don't spam or post inappropriate comments in the chat, and please make sure that at all times you're adhering to the Microsoft Code of Conduct. We've included a link. It's also available through your registration if you'd like to refer to it. This is the entire code of conduct at length. I'll give you just a couple seconds to review through it, but we just like to remind everyone that we really want to support and create an environment that encourages collaboration and communication across everyone who's joining us today. Topics for today's discussion. We have a really fantastic lineup of experts, and before I introduce them, I just want to introduce some of the topics that they're primed and ready to talk about today. We'll be covering Surface Hub, the Surface Hub OS, Surface Duo, Service and endpoint security. We'll have experts to be able to talk about remote management and deployment, hardware innovation, and the future of work and where we see the place for endpoint management. And that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our speakers. Dave Allis, I'll start with you and then we can go from there.
Hi there, I'm Dave Allis. I am the product leader for the Surface Hub product line. I'm very happy to be here. I am remembering Ignite in Orlando last year. And this year we have even bigger news with the 85-inch going on availability for pre-order today in the United States and available in January. We have already shipped Windows 10 Pro and Windows 10 Enterprise on the Surface Hub hardware, and being able to have the news on our update for Surface Hub OS coming beginning in October. I look forward to the questions that we're going to have in the next half hour, and then let's meet some of the other people that are on the call with me.
So Bob, I'll turn it over to you next to introduce yourself.
All right, I'm Bob Combs. I work in security and in the BIOS across the products in Surface platforms. Happy to be here.
And thank you, Bob. And Chris, thank you for joining us. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Chris Johnson. I work on the Surface Hub engineering team in charge of the software experiences.
And on to Jordan. Jordan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure thing. I'm Jordan Casey. I'm a program manager on the Surface Hub OS side, the Windows 10 team.
And with that, I will turn it over to Matt to introduce yourself. Matt Shaw.
Apologies, could not find my mute button. I'm Matthew Shaw. I'm the product marketing manager for Surface Hub.
And we also have Natalia. Natalia, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm a product manager for the Surface Duo, and I'm super excited to get all your questions and hear what you guys have been thinking to the early reactions of the product.
And Oz, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Oz Ayakta. I'm in the Surface Commercial Engineering team as a PM.
And then Sean, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sean McLaren. I'm a program manager on our commercial modernization team focused on Windows Endpoint Manager.
And Vineet, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Hi, my name is Vineet Tuvara. I'm on the Surface Duo team.
And then Yoav, lastly with you.
Hi, my name is Yoav. I'm a program manager in the Surface product group.
And we have Kimo too.
Oh, and Kimo, my apologies. Kimo, I missed you. Please introduce yourself as well to the group.
No worries at all. Hi, I'm Kimo Lessel. I'm the product lead for Surface Duo. Super excited to be here with the team to talk about Surface Duo.
Well, as you can see, we have an amazing lineup of folks that are across all sorts of products and some of the hottest topics from Surface Hub to Surface Duo and on down. With that, we've had a couple of questions that have already started to come in. So one of the first ones that I'd like to ask is for you, Dave Ollis. One of the questions that came in is, will the 85-inch Surface Hub 2 support the Windows 10 desktop? Could you address that and answer that?
Yeah, absolutely. It is something that we are working on right now, although it is behind the launches that we talked about today. And as many people already know, the compute cartridge between the 50-inch device and the 85-inch device is identical. And of course, the software image of Windows 10 desktop OS that you would put on each one is also identical. We do have some changes that are relevant in the products, like where the speakers wind up, which impacts experiences on VTC, such as Teams. And so we need to make sure that we go through a thorough test pass before we set a very specific date that we're going to have that available. But we're really excited to get there, as I'm sure there's a number of customers are as well.
Thank you so much, Dave. One of the other questions that came in, both during the live session that folks just joined, as well as I'm already seeing pop up in the chat window now, is for you, Kimo. We seem to have a lot of interest of people wondering when Surface Duo is going to be available in insert the country of their choice, the UK, Spain. Clearly, a lot of people outside the US are excited to get their hands on it. Can you speak to a little bit about that?
That's a great question. It talks about the excitement, obviously, towards Surface Duo. Which is of course amazing. We've been in the market for 12 days here in the US, and of course it's a great thing. We're talking about our future plans outside of US at later stage, but clearly we are seeing the demand, we are seeing the excitement outside of US as well.
Thank you so much, Kimo. One of the other questions that came up related to Duo is, what's the future strategy for Android with Surface and devices?
So when it comes to Android, obviously Surface Duo is running on Android. It is the device which is running also the M365. It's offering all the Microsoft applications that you love. Obviously, we wanted to have Android running on Duo because that's what people know. That's where the applications are. So we want to be where the customers are. Duo is focused on Android right now from the Surface portfolio of products.
And then one of the questions, Dave, that's come into the chat window for you is, with Windows 10 Pro and Enterprise running on devices, what's the right scenario or solution for when people should choose to do Windows 10 TeamOS or Windows TeamOS versus the Windows 10 Pro or Enterprise scenario?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. The simplest way that I would say to think about this is, does the resource of the device belong more to a space that lots of different people go through, or does it belong more to a person or to a really small set of people? And the more that a device really is used by one person, think like an executive office, then really you want to have the Windows 10 desktop OS on it. It gives you the ability of running any application you want, whether it's Win32 or PWA, and not just run anything you want, but it will run the same things that you have on your personal laptop device, and all of the syncing mechanisms that you have on things like browser favorites or taskbar customization. You can set it up as an all-in-one device that really mirrors the experience of your other devices, but with this great stand-up, inking and touch capabilities that give you a level of freedom that you don't get with PCs that sit on a desk. But the more that a device is really assigned to an open space, a huddle room, a conference room, and that device could at least theoretically get lots of different people during the day or during the week, the more you're going to want to have the standard Teams OS on it, because that comes with a number of security features. Like when you walk away from that session, it will wipe all user data like a human was never there. And it has the capability of doing things like one-touch meeting join. So without requiring a human to log into their own credentials, you can join a meeting with one touch, and in just seconds, you're having your meeting.
And as a follow-on to that, Dave, one question that seems to be coming up pretty readily is, are the Surface Hub 2S devices limited to landscape only, or can they be mounted in portrait mode? And does the OS support that?
We don't have a great scale way to put the device in portrait mode. It winds up mechanically being a very simple thing to do, and we know that there is a lot of customers that continue to ask us this question. So one of the things that we have done over the last year is we've worked with a set of our distributors on if we were to have a set of services like install services, would they be able to do the mechanical changes so that at least today on the desktop OS version that you can do that rotation. And the Windows 10 desktop already has the capability of going into display settings and changing the settings so that you can use it in either mode. But mechanically, we don't have a simple way to roll that out to everyone. But if there are individual customers for which this is a big deal, then that's something that we can follow up on, because there is a solution that we can give to customers. It's just not an easy way that we could roll it out to everybody.
So speaking of OS updates, one of the questions that's come up is probably for those on the Duo team, how frequently should we expect OS updates and improvements for Duo? Also, is there a plan for some sort of Android OS insider ring?
Okay, this is a great question again. Surface Duo OS updates are planned to be monthly. So the first update is coming in October and then rolling out each month going forward. Insider is a great question. We have that for Windows, and for sure it's something that we are looking into right now.
And then one of the questions as a follow-on to that is, will the Surface Duo receive an update to improve the gyroscope issue when using the camera?
We have plenty of ideas, of course, ongoing, and we're learning from the users, learning from the customers right now, and looking into these type of things. So we talk about these at the later stage, what these updates are, and when we are pushing out the updates.
Wonderful, thank you, Kimo. Now, Jordan, this may be a question for you. It sounds like we have a little bit of a hacker in the audience. He is asking, if we have a touch monitor and say the Surface Pro or another PC, and we add the Surface Hub image or OS to that device, will we still get some of the same Surface Hub features as our own quote unquote DIY?
That's a very fun question. So we have definitely heard asked before about how can we do some sort of combination with utilizing like the Windows 10 Team Edition on other devices, and it's not something that we have actively pursued. There are ways on using a Surface Hub, connecting it. You can do like ingest by connecting it into another monitor, where you can get touchback if you have a laptop connected to it from a connection perspective, but not kind of the other way around.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jordan. Now, Chris Johnson, this is a question for you. Does the Surface Hub 85-inch support a battery similar to the 50-inch device?
No, we do support battery on the Hub 2S, but we do not support it on the 85-inch.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Chris. Now, for the Duo team, we also have a question around, now that Duo is out and running on Android, I haven't caught any news of Intune being able to track Android device updates like it can for iOS. Is it possible that there is any word on these features being available for more secure devices in the Surface realm?
I can take that one as well. Maybe specifically talking about Intune, we can definitely follow up on that. What we're currently having on Duo, we have Intune built into Surface Duo experience, And at the same time, we are obviously, having the great management capabilities that the Android also offers. That's the combination right now what we are having for the user.
Thank you so much, Kimo. Another question that's come in for Surface Hub is, when will we be shipping a compute module for the Surface Hub that can include a GE Force RTX 3080 series so I can play Flight Simulator on it? This sounds like my kind of guy. Or gal.
Okay, I like the question, and I did not expect that level of specificity in the scenario. First, I want to say the design on Surface Hub very purposely is done in this modular fashion, not just with the compute cartridge, but with the camera and with third-party accessories, because we realized that the TDM, the touch display module, is the biggest cost element of the device. And if you look at the equivalent curves of Moore's law, the changes on the touch display are not happening nearly as fast as in some other elements like CPU, GPU, and camera. Like we're all going to, blink where it's going to be like January, February quarantine 8K. And we'll have a new set of cameras out that can do amazing digital tilt, pan, zoom, and get really, really good views of people. So we are designed to be able to handle those things. We do not have a specific date that we have announced for a compute cartridge. We know that at the day that we do it, we have been asked for increase the GPU capabilities to open up. But most of the examples I heard were not game related, but that one counts too. And when we do have a new compute cartridge, of course, it will be available both on the Team Edition OS side and on the desktop, OS side. And so you'll be able to play to your heart's content when we get there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dave. For the Duo team, there's a question that's come up, and we actually saw a bit of this during the live session previously, is why develop for Duo on the Android platform versus the Windows platform? And I know this is a question you guys have faced a lot, and I think it'd be a great opportunity to share a little bit about the thought and rationale between the platform selections.
I can continue on that. So Android as a choice for Duo, I think it's kind of obvious from that perspective that if you think about Android and the devices that you are having in your pocket, that's what people know and people are familiar with, and that's where the applications are. So we feel that it was a natural choice for a device like Duo, which you are having in your pocket. So I think that's the first part of the second part of it, like application development, is that there are already like all app developers on the planet know Android at the same time. So it's also a choice, and it's easier for app developers than develop the applications to Duo when we are running on Android. So it's kind of a win-win from customer and from the developer perspective as well.
And one of the follow-ons to that actually is a question around, will you develop more apps that take care of or leverage dual screen features, since not all apps in the App Store support dual screen for Duo?
Amazing question. So the first thing to mention and just to talk about is that when we built Duo, we of course wanted to understand what is the problem at the moment when it comes to being productive with the mobile device, and what we're basically seeing is that it's super hard for people to multitask on a single screen smartphone today. It's actually over 70% of the people who are saying that they struggle to do anything more complex with the smartphone. My example always been about think about getting a mail about your availability and then start checking that from your calendar, and then that leads you to start switching between applications on a single screen device. So we developed Duo to be dual screens to basically address that challenge. And the first thing here is that we want people to be able to run any Android apps side by side. That's the true value of what Duo offers, and that's pretty unique. Any apps. When it comes to then applications taking the advantage of these two screens, it's amazing from that perspective too. These apps are becoming even more intelligent, and they are becoming more rich when you are you can take that advantage. And imagine these M365 applications which we are having built into the Surface Duo experience, and how much more you can do when you can span the application to screens. You can have Outlook, which is having inbox on the other side, and then you can see the mail on the other. You can have the Teams experience like this, running Teams on the left, and you can see the chat screen on the right, something you can't do with your mobile device or with your single screen phone. You can have your PowerPoint presentation running like full screen on the top, and you can have the slide sorter on the bottom, and so on. So we see amazing value coming also from these enhanced applications, and we have already some apps available for Duo being in the market for 12 days, and now we are working with more partners to get these applications enhanced.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Timo. One of the other questions that's come up, and Dave, this may be a question for you or potentially Jordan, is with the great new features that have been announced with the Surface Hub 2S Team OS update in October, are there any other anticipated differences, either in look and feel of devices coming out or also in the operating system updates that will be coming out in October?
Let me take this one. We have a lot coming in October. So much so that it kind of takes too long to rattle through, but fundamentally, there's two different points I would like to make. One, this October, we have big focus both on the end users of the devices, but also for the IT managers. And we had not done significant releases for IT managers for Surface Hub in a while. And this is really catching up to a lot of what modern Windows 10 environments have had. And so we're very proud, and it's depending on what you're interested in, there's a lot there for each of those groups. Secondarily, I want to call out that with the release that we have in October, not only do we have a big release, but we are changing our approach and our model to software, where if you have been with Surface Hub since the early days, you will have noticed that for a long time, there were not very significant software updates that were coming. And in the last 6 months, if you look on the team side, we have had more updates to the Teams experience in the last 6 months than we had probably the previous 2 years. And we are now committed to having continued updates on a regular basis. So you will see multiple significant updates within a year that goes out to customers, and those customers can choose when to take that update and roll it out to their organization. So we really have ramped up the focus on continued delivering software value on these devices outside of the major moments of hardware releases.
So one question came through that I absolutely loved, because it's actually a question I commonly will ask folks, is when you think about the Surface device that you use in your day-to-day life most to help you stay in your flow and be productive, as a group, we'd love to put it out there to you guys. Which one is that for you? Dave, I'll start with you and then we'll go from there.
Life is definitely different when I spend most of my life in this one physical room that you are seeing right now. And the device that is most helpful for me in the quarantine period has been the Surface Hub hardware running the Windows 10 Enterprise Edition, where it can do everything. And I can sit down and use a remote keyboard from a laptop to interact with it, or I could walk up and use it as the full combination of pen, touch, mouse, and keyboard capabilities when I'm using another device with it, and it has every single one of my apps. But it's kind of interesting in that although people might use the word mobile as they're away from their physical workplace, in some levels, I have never been less mobile. Or if I wore a Fitbit tracker, which I don't do, I would be, I'm sure, under 1,000 steps a day every single day. And I have found myself really having to force myself to break away from the space that you see me in now to go and catch up on email and stuff in the family room with my family. And in that case, the Surface laptop, I would say, is my favorite device for that particular scenario. And it allows me to be very connected to work, but also feel like I'm not neglecting my family completely, as work from home loads have gone up.
Thanks, Dave. And Natalia, I'm going to put the same question out to you because I know you've actually been having to turn your home into not only a productivity space, but also a home studio to even record some of our Duo demo videos and the like in a way that I'm sure you never anticipated.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a really good question. And honestly, to Dave's point, if you had asked me this 8 months ago, I'd probably be giving you a really different answer. But the fact that everyone is at home more, I'm definitely leveraging my Surface Studio just because I love the big screen. But what I found out was really important to me was when this whole pandemic started, I was just sitting on my at my desk. And so what I've loved is with Surface Duo, I'm able to go on a walk and carry it with me or like put it in my pocket. And what's awesome is I can have a work phone call. And then if I need to reference a document or I need to pull something up, I can. But I also get those breaks in between the day. And it just creates this mental barrier for me that my day becomes separated. So I know it's a bit of a two-part question, but I think in the world that we're living in right now, we need to like find those little moments throughout the day. And so it helps me stay continuous. And then if I need to, you know, do something where I'm looking at a ton of different documents, I can do that too. But it doesn't prevent me from finding a little bit more of that balance right now.
And Sean, I'm going to put that same question out to you because I know that you're someone who actually has historically worked from home and not been tied to an office. What's the Surface product that you use to drive productivity?
So I think one of the things that's been really good for me working from home is having access to things like ink. So, you know, joining a meeting and still being able to whiteboard even though we're not in the same room. I just have that free flowing interaction has really been impactful for me. So I've used my pen more than I probably ever did before. You know, fortunate enough to have a hub that also helps a lot. But I think just being able to have that free form interaction has been the most impactful for me, and having things, you know, kind of to the point that was just made, roaming across all of my devices. So when I grab a different form factor or I change devices, you know, I get those experiences across them. That's definitely been something that's kept me highly productive in this world.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sean. And Bob, I'm going to call you out as well, because I do know that you're someone that also deals on the forefront of security. And so thinking about a work remote and work from home situation is probably both front and center for the world that you work in and how you're helping other enterprise customers do the same.
Right. So I'm using my Surface Studio at home, but I've got a little bit of everything. So I also, you know, will open up my Duo when I'm, you know, say sitting with the family or something to check things periodically. But from the security standpoint, yeah, we put a lot of features in that I think are great from the standpoint that the minute you connect remotely, you're still getting all those same IT security policies pushed down and applied to your remote device. And that's what makes me feel secure at home. Of course, I also made sure that, you know, my own router has my personal policies on it as well, because I don't trust the ISPs as much as I should, perhaps. But yeah, I feel very secure with our devices. I think we've done an awesome job all around trying to make sure that we give people the flexibility and at the same time the security, and the fact that we push those updates out when we find any kind of bug or vulnerability, we mitigate it as quickly as we can and get Windows Update pushed out to people to update devices. I think that's a strong part of what we do. I think I should also point out that the BIOS, the firmware that we put into the devices, we write. And that's one of our ways of making sure that supply chain attacks are mitigated by us.
Thank you so much, Bob. I think you hit on a good point that with 1 minute left, I'm going to hit on our last question that has come up by a couple of folks. Is management of devices through autopilot. One question that's come up is, when can I deploy autopilot to manage my Surface hubs? And is it available today on Surface Duo? So I see that as kind of a two-part question. Dave, I'll let you start with Surface Hub, and then Kimo, I'll hand it over to you for Duo.
So autopilot, I think, was the #1 customer request that did not quite make our October release. That said, we've had a team of people that have been hard at work at it. We are very close. It will be in the first update that we do afterwards. And as I've already talked about, we're going to get on a much faster cadence than we've been about before. And this is something that we will want to test early with key customers. And so, you know, if there is a specific hub customer that has a very strong interest, start talking to your GBBs, and we will figure out the right way to make sure that we can have that for smooth rollouts for you in the near future.
And Kimo, I'll turn it over to you to answer the same question about autopilot management through Duo.
Great. On Duo, we don't have autopilot available. Kind of the same thing what Dave was saying. We are of course interested in discussing and hearing from you.
Well, with that, we are now officially out of time. Thank you everyone for your questions. It was a really exciting and interesting time. Thank you to all of our presenters for taking and fielding every question under the sun. We will continue to monitor the chat and start to get to all those questions that we couldn't get answered in the chat window to make sure you all get responses. We'd encourage you to join some of our other sessions, as well as check out our tech communities, where we'll have subject matter experts also answering questions as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Have a wonderful day, and we look forward to the rest of an exciting Ignite.